What is the biggest I shouldn't have said that moment you've ever had right after you said it? A few months ago, my dog goosed a woman in the park. She didn't actually pinch or bite her, just a wet nose up the back of her dress. She had never done that before, so I was just as surprised as the woman. I apologized profusely, and luckily the woman was cool about it. She had a dog with her too, so it was safe to assume she knew how weird dogs can be sometimes. Anyway, we are taking a bit, and I say, well, you know dogs. They like to put their noses in weird and foul smells. As soon as the word foul left my lips, I knew I should not have said that. The woman just gave me a look like, did you really just fucking say that? I made a quick and awkward exit shortly after that. Not my proudest moment. I was fighting with my mom, and she said something about I don't pay for this house, but since she was and has been a stay-at-home mom at the time, I said I mean technically you don't either, and that was the wrong thing to say, and I knew I had it in for me. My brother and I worked at a fast food restaurant. The one type of new burger we served took 15 minutes to cook, though so often we would have to tell customers and suggest they find a table to wait if they were willing. Well, my brother was working cash and this person in a wheelchair decided to wait. My brother was like, it'll be a while for it to be done. I'll bring it to your table when it's ready. If you just want to take a seat, sir. I mean pull up a chair. I mean, shit. Thankfully the person had a good sense of humor, but holy shit, it was funny watching him put his foot in his mouth repeatedly. I saw some dumb 2007 meme that said, hey, man, thanks for not being a meth addict. I said it to my youth pastor cause I was a dumb teen. He replied, it wasn't easy getting away from it, that's for sure, but I'm glad I'm here. I went to my uncle's funeral a couple of days ago. As we were about to leave to go to it, we were wondering what family would be there. Without thinking I said I wonder if Uncle Steve will be there. That's who the funeral was for. Right away, I was like OMG, no, why did I say that? A number of years ago, my wife was complaining about being overweight. She wasn't overweight at all. In an attempt to comfort her, I put a hand on her shoulder and said back, quote, you'd be perfect if I was blind. Her reaction was not what I had in mind. My wife and I were going somewhere. Wife, do I look okay? She was wearing brownish capris, a light colored camisole, and a brownish shirt over it. I tried to come up with something cute and brown. Me, like a potato. It is now the basis for all clothing related questions. 20-ish years later. Wife, do I look like a potato in this? Was in high school working fast food. It was slow on the line, so me and the girl working were talking. She was complaining about her weight, so without really thinking I said, oh come on, you're not that fat, and knew how badly I had screwed up before finishing the sentence. She stormed off. In my defense, she really wasn't that fat. I was in the car with my parents and my mom turned around and told me to put my seatbelt on. I responded by saying that I wouldn't, and I hoped I would die in a car crash or something to that extent. I don't remember the exact words I used, or why I even said it. The whole car went silent, as if the initial comment I made wasn't bad enough, as I painfully remembered that my father's first wife and unborn child were killed in a car accident on their wedding night some 40 years ago. I'm also her namesake. In my middle school music class we were studying the Underground Railroad. Our teacher asked us to name famous African Americans from the period. My hand goes up. Now, I had the image of Harriet Tubman in my mind. I still have no idea why I said what I was about to. Teacher calls on me. I answer, Martha Stewart. Class roars with laughter. When asked in a job interview why I didn't want to continue working with children, I blurted out that I love my own, but other people's kids are cunts. Instant terror inside at my own idiocy. Still got the job. Guess she agreed. I made someone cry by accident. A friend of mine told me her grandmother passed away recently, and how much she was struggling to cope with that. So, later that day we were discussing about a school related project with some other friends. We were not going to finish our project before the deadline, so I jokingly said, well, what if we pretend someone's family member died, and that's why we couldn't focus that well? Right after saying that I looked at my friend who began to tear up a bit. I immediately thought, oh shit, that's right. I'm an idiot. My mum was in hospital. As it turns out, she would never leave the hospital. But at this stage she was sick, but not that sick. She had a private room with a little enclosed garden outside. She had a blue-tongued lizard who lived in the garden, and she would pass her long days watching the lizard scurry around and catch bugs and lazing in the sun. She would tell us every time we visited what the lizard had been up to, the funny things it had done, and made her smile during the day. She lit up when telling me about its adventures. One day when I came in to visit, the blue tongue was out the front of her room in the car park. It had been hit by a car and killed. I went to visit mum, and she was very sad. She hadn't seen her friend the lizard all day. I said to her, oh yeah, I saw him out in the car park. He won't be back. He got run over by a car. As soon as I said it, I tried to suck the words back in, but I couldn't. Her face crashed. She was crushed. I tried to say maybe it was another lizard, or that her lizard would be back, but it was no good. The damage was done. A week later she died. She had been in the hospital for 3 months, and was getting better they thought. But this day, she just died. They thought she had just given up. That was in 1996, 22 and a bit years ago. And I still wake from sleep thinking about that. I still shudder every time I recall how stupid I had been. I'm now a 50-year-old man, and I can never and will never forgive myself for that stupid statement. It still makes me cry. During my wedding ceremony I said with lusting devotion instead of lasting devotion. I mean, both phrases work. I don't mind having to commit to lasting devotion for the rest of my married life. I was a groundskeeper at a school, and I was talking to a few students about my dog. They were asking all sorts of questions. I was trying to dodge their questions, but I let slip that what the dog is guarding is between Professor Dumbledore and Nicholas Flamel. Was standing behind the lady checking out at Walmart. She had several 40 to 50 can packs of Bud Light that she was buying. It looked like she was stocking up for something, so I asked, having a party? She started at me for a second and said nope, just a Tuesday. One of the more cringe-worthy episodes I've had with random people. Edit. Several people have brought up that she might have been messing with me. While I wish that were the case, it wasn't. There was more to the interaction, where I put my foot even deeper in my mouth, that told me that firmly wasn't the case. For another, I live in a fairly rural area where there's a decent amount of alcoholism. My boss gave me some really menial shit work to do when he knew I was too busy for it. He was being a lazy ass and didn't want to do it. I literally grabbed one of his hands and looked hard at it. He took his hand back and asked what I was doing. And I looked him dead in the face and said, your hands look fine. 3 other coworkers were there around and tried their hardest to not burst out laughing. Pretty much as I was saying it, I regretted it. Business school interview over Skype. They were very interested in a global conference I was helping organize and suddenly asked, what would you do in the event of a terrorist attack? Blanked out. First thing out of my mouth was, well, the event's going to be a bomb. I didn't get in. I was doing work at the family farm when our mom's insurance rep was visiting. I overheard them explaining her benefits, that the insurance will pay out at death or age 100. Mom, I'm pretty sure my time will come before I'm 100. Me, if not, we'll just take you out back and put you down. The insurance guy looked like a deer in headlights. My 80-year-old mom got up and chased me down laughing to give me a fake spanking. Eater, my mom just called. We revisited that moment and laughed again. Haha. We had a friend of the family, my grandma's lifelong friend, who was labeled the crazy cat lady. She had several dozen cats, most were feral, and lived outside, but occasionally she'd nurse and tame sick kittens when they came around, and they'd become inside cats. Most had feline AIDS and left snotty marks on the walls from the constantly sick cats sneezing on them. The whole house reeked of ammonia from the dozen litter boxes she placed in her open garage and basement. Anyway, she was a kind lady, and after her husband passed it became my dad's personal responsibility to make sure all her heavy lifting was taken care of. So after all these years of sick cats and ignoring warnings from friends, naturally she gets bit and it gets infected. It was horrific. It just kept getting worse and worse to the point her foot had to be amputated. cut to the point. One day my dad volunteers me to help him clean the litter and power wash her garage. I'm a dickhead teen at the time, so naturally I complain about how the smell makes me sick, and I hate cats, so why do I have to be the one to blah blah? I'm an entitled prick. So he informs me we need to help now more than ever because the infection caused a chain reaction of health problems and she might not last much longer despite her sunny disposition to everything going on. To which I respond, so you could say she has a foot in the grave? I've never seen my dad look so disappointed.